When planning the road to success, there are a few steps to keep in mind. Identifying and solving the cause, facing and embracing change, goal setting, and being accountable. We'll talk about this today on Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. New and healthier habits lead to prosperity in all areas of your life and business. Now, here's your host, Chris Salem.
Welcome to Sustainable Success. If you just found us here for the first time, you found us here at the Lisbon platform. We also can be found on Spotify, Apple, and also YouTube, an audio version of the show, which is actually new, that started earlier this year. And again, we can also find us on Facebook at Sustainable Success 2017. There we've had many of our great guests sharing their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate you and your personal success to the next level. Again, if you are new, we feel free to subscribe not only to our Lisbon platform, but also to Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and again, the Facebook Sustainable Success page at Sustainable Success 2017. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet people for the first time. Now, it is a membership program, taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, I am so excited today to be bringing back a former guest on this show. Matter of fact, I think she's been on the show twice before. And always just knocks it out of the park with great insights. Someone I call a friend, and she has helped so many great people become speakers on the TEDx stage. We're going to be talking with Tricia Brouk, and the title today that we're going to be talking about is Why Being Smart is Stupid. Now, you're probably saying, wow, what does that mean? Well, you'll find out here today. And before we bring Tricia on, I want to give you a little bit of background about her. She is the founder of Brouk Moves, the Big Talk, and the Wise Leopard. She has coached thousands of speakers, including former Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindeman and New York City mayoral candidate Catherine Garcia. Her work is featured on Amazon Prime's documentary Big Stages, and she has collaborated with actors such as Kate Winslet, Susan Sarandon, and the late, great James Gandolfini. She is a lifelong student of Buddhism, and she lives in New York City with her husband, Joe, and their fur baby, Eva Moon. I love it. And you're going to get all the contact about Tricia later here in the show, and it'll also be on the show notes here on today's show. And without further ado, we welcome Tricia Brouk to the show. Tricia, how you doing today?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to be back with you, Christopher. Such a pleasure to be in your presence and to be on your show.
We are so excited to have you here today. And, Tricia, I know you have a new book that just, it's coming out, which is the title of today's show. And I know when people saw that title, they were going like, wow, what is that? So there are a lot of people are very intrigued to be hearing today why being smart is stupid. And so I guess before we start talking about, what's behind the book and what's in it and so on, maybe a little bit, if you could give us a little backstory, what led up to you writing that book.
For the last several years, people have commented on my leadership style, and they've asked, how do you know how to create a culture? How do you know how to create a team that stays together for so many years? What is it about your leadership style that makes people want to work with you? And I didn't know how to answer that question. So I started thinking, how can I deconstruct how I have led through my career? And in your beautiful introduction and the biography, I have 3 companies. One is a fitness company called Brouk Moves, Inc. Brouk Moves has been in my life since 1993. And I have clients who have been with me for over 30 years. I have trainers who've been with me for 20 years. And then we think about the Big Talk, which is the personal development company where I support speakers and thought leaders. in terms of using their voice for impact. When you're working with speakers and when you're working with a company who is online and in the online space, your consultants don't usually stay with you for very long because they're bouncing around. Well, I've had people working with the Big Talk for over 7 years. And in the world of film, television, and theater, when I reach out to an actor or when I reach out to a dancer and I say, I'm doing a project, they all say yes before they even know what the project is.
That's a good thing.
It's an amazing thing. And I have a BFA in dance. Christopher, I did not go to business school. So I didn't inherit leadership. I actually learned how to do it through the Eastern philosophy that I practice in Buddhism.
Yeah.
And this book is called Being Smart is Stupid: Why Embracing the Wisdom of Your Buddha Nature is the Secret to Great Leadership. Back to why I wrote the book, I wanted to deconstruct how I've had so much success as a leader in a way that could become tangible, tactical, and strategic for leaders who want to learn a different way. There are a lot of smart leaders out there, really smart people doing great things. However, if we can think about embracing the wisdom of our Buddha nature, which is compassion, empathy, knowing, what if we could create a richer culture? What if we could create more abundance? What if we could create more connection instead of leading the way people have inherited, which is fear-based? And that is why I created this book. And that is why I think being smart is stupid.
Wow. Love the backstory. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And, I can relate 100%. I know I dabbled in Buddhism. I'm not saying I'm a Buddhist, but I was very intrigued by the Buddhist way of thinking. That started my journey, by the way. Just, I don't know if you know this about me. When I went through my transformation back at the age of 31, where I was struggling at that time with 13 years of addiction to various things. And I was living in this fight or flight moment every day of my life. I had extreme anxiety, anger, and it was through a lot of the teachings of Buddhism that really changed my life, in so many profound ways. And even today that I meditate every day, I journal every day, and I practice a lot of the philosophies from it. And it's just so wonderful that, you've been doing this for so long, and what inspired you for putting out this book.
And I think what you said is really true, Christopher. And you have shared this with me, and you share it on your show and in service of your listener, how this philosophy supported you in your road to sobriety. But it is a philosophy. And for those of you who are thinking, oh, I don't want to become a Buddhist, I'm not going to read this book. This book is not about becoming Buddhist. This book is about embracing Eastern philosophy in a very tactical way to allow you to become a wise leader. And here's something I want you and your listeners to really know is that we all have a Buddha nature. Every single one of us has a Buddha nature. And it's your compassion, it's your empathy, it's your knowing. And that's what I want everybody to become conscious of, is that we all have it.
And let's go off of what you just said there. And I think, because the show caters to a business audience, you talked about compassion, kindness, empathy. And that is something that is so needed now more than ever in this world. It's needed in the workplace. And it's through empathy that we can empower people to step up to do for themselves. It encourages interdependency, not codependency. Can you talk about some of those attributes that you just shared about compassion, empathy, kindness, any of those words that would align with, what you talked about from Eastern philosophy that could be so instrumental in not only in self-leadership, but also in how that will inspire the people we're working with or working for?
When we understand what our Buddha nature is, and that means the knowing, the compassion, the empathy, we can make better decisions as leaders. We can make wise leadership decisions. when I go back to the concept of inheriting leadership, as a former dancer, choreographers and directors would lead with fear. And this is the kind of cliche that we always think of, the ballet teacher with the wooden stick, or the choreographer who's yelling at you, that's not good enough, or don't get injured, there's another dancer in the wings who can take your job. This kind of leadership is very common, was very common, and was common in my field. And it was something I never aligned with. I did not do better because I was being treated poorly. I was being treated without compassion and empathy and kindness. I did not do better. And when I decided to build my first company, which is Brouk Moves, when I was working at fitness companies, one of the things they made you do if you called out as a trainer was find your own sub. Now, I was dancing all over the place, so I was touring and I was going out of town, and I needed a sub all the time, and it was such a hassle to have to find a sub for myself. So as a wise leader, using my Buddha nature, when I founded a fitness company and I hired my trainers, I said, one of the things you will never have to do is find a sub. If you get a job and you're going on tour, every holiday season when you're working at Radio City as a Rockette, all you have to do is give me those dates and I will sub them out for you. And when the show is over, when the tour is over, you come back and you have your job. And that enabled me to keep trainers for years. And guess what? When I asked them to sub for each other, they would all say yes, because they knew I was taking care of them. And there's short-sightedness in smart leaders. I need this done now. I don't care about what happens later. And that's not wise leadership. When you think about leading through compassion and empathy, and that's the Buddha nature, and you create a culture of kindness and a culture of curiosity and a culture of everyone's voice matters, then your team stays with you. Your team works harder. And ultimately, what's the goal here? A good culture, an increased bottom line, more success, more abundance, more wealth, more freedom, all the things we desire.
I think that is incredible. And, being somebody that's in that space myself, what I do in consulting and coaching really hits home. Because when I think about what you just said, that compassion, that if we don't create psychologically safe environments, and I'm not saying from an enablement standpoint, like we're out to please and enable, that doesn't help anybody. But when we create an environment that encourages people to come out of their comfort zone, to know that they're supported, not enabled, but supported, I think that is going to be really beneficial for especially the Gen Z, that generation that a lot of times is really hard to identify with, especially with older generations. And why this is going to be imperative for organizations and leaders and organizations to hear you and read this book, how this is going to help shape their environments and attracting people and retaining them, because a lot of the Gen Z are not going to stick around, or even young millennials, if that is not the case.
Absolutely. That's such a good point, is the retention piece of it. I think about the importance of relationship building and how I lead. And let's total honesty, I'm a human being walking around in a human body, and I practice embracing my Buddha nature, but I am not walking around as an enlightened leader knowing more than anybody. I do not pretend to know more than anybody, and I do not pretend to think that I can always be an enlightened leader. I am in practice like everyone else, and I apologize a lot. I ask for do-overs a lot. And I ask my team how I can improve a lot. And that is also part of being a wise leader, is that you are level with your team. Everybody is working together towards the same goal and the same outcome. And there's not a hierarchy. And I think that's really important too, when it comes to reframing what it means to be a smart leader and what it means to be a wise leader.
So true. So true. What would you share? And I'd like you to, keep this about, coming from what you've shared in your book and whatever you feel on your heart to share, like what if somebody hearing this now, you have a leader that might say, hey, I can really relate to that, but what do I do how do I go about doing it? Like, what would I do?
This is a really great question because so many people think I don't have time to meditate for an hour every day. I don't have time to go to a silent meditation retreat. Who do you think you are, right? And this is not about climbing the mountain in a loincloth and sitting on a cushion. This is about making a decision that you want to improve your leadership skills and embracing the philosophies that I've laid out for you in a very tactical way that is very, very applicable to anybody. And it starts with getting still. And it's a very simple acronym. And I started off with the simplest form of getting still that you can possibly embody. And that's stop, tune in, intuit what you're experiencing, listen to that guide, and then learn from what you've just experienced. Yeah. And when you get still in a moment of frustration, disappointment, decision making, you're about to fire somebody, you're about to write an email, you're about to get on a call with somebody because you feel slighted. As a leader, as a wise leader, if you can simply get still before you do any of those things, you're going to make a better decision. You're going to prevent a whole lot of suffering of yourself and suffering of others. And part of the philosophy and the 9 pillars of this book is also befriending suffering. We cannot alleviate and remove suffering. We're human beings. However, we can prevent some of it. And when we're choosing to be wise leaders and to embrace our Buddha nature and to know that I better get still right now, or I'm going to make some big mistakes, that's going to help us tremendously.
Yeah. And I know we have like a few minutes to the break, and I know we're going to get into the weeds with this in a good way in the second part of the show. But when I heard what you said, when you could be present and you're in that moment, it just now allows me to say, okay, what can I control? What can I not control? And when you put it in perspective, what I can control every day is me. I can't control other people or situations. So it grounds you, like you said. It allows you to now lead from your intentions, not get tied to expectations beyond your control. So through that clarity, you're able to make maybe swifter decisions, diagnose challenges or problems better without quick to deflect how you feel or blame somebody else. That's what I picked up what you just said. And it was powerful.
Absolutely. And we can't control anything. We can certainly make decisions about how we are responding as wise leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you just said. And I know I'd love to dive into the 9 pillars. Now, we got about less than a minute to the first break. Tricia, if you could like sum up in the next 20 seconds, the things you shared here in the first segment for the listeners here.
I think it's important to recognize that many of us have inherited leadership skills and that may not be serving us anymore. And if we can identify what those leadership skills are that we've inherited, if it's fear-based, if it's lack, if it's scarcity, and then make a decision to move into being a wise leader and embracing the Buddha nature that we all have, which is compassion, empathy, kindness, and love, we can make a difference when we're leading.
Oh, wow. So let that sink in, everybody. And again, we encourage everybody to go back and listen to this segment here later today on the show, on the on-demand version. Lots of great information here. Again, we got more to come here with Tricia Brouk here about being smart is stupid. Again, these principles are highly valuable in terms of not only for you, both on a personal, professional level, but also that your example of what she is sharing each and every day can be the greatest gift that you can be giving people around you, because people, whether they know it or not, learn from example and learn how you could be resourceful to them to help themselves. We got more to come, and we got to go to break right now. But when we come right back, being smart is stupid, we'll dive more into the weeds of what you could be doing now to make your environment, whatever that is, a better place. We'll be right back after the break.
What is balance? It's being true to your purpose and not being distracted by shiny objects, surrounding yourself with family and loved ones, nurturing your spirituality, maintaining healthy balance of emotional and physical wellness, and being present in the moment. Chris Salem creates awareness about unblocking mindset barriers for sales professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and all types of people to have sustainable success at the next level. The solution evolves out of the problem or challenge. The issue is that many people and businesses manage the effect but do not address the root cause. You now have an opportunity to live your life and operate your business in the solution rather than the effect of your challenges. Schedule a time to chat about your goals and the person you desire to be by going to ChristopherSalem.com. We have group consulting calls, one-on-one, and other programs to assist you. It will be the best thing you do for yourself to see how sustainable success is possible for you in your life and business. Join us at the next level. Visit ChristopherSalem.com.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are listening to Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. Send an email to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Now, back to Sustainable Success.
Welcome back to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us here, we are talking about being smart is stupid. Now, don't kind of read into that title. There is when you now hear what was said here in the first segment, it will all make sense. We highly encourage you to listen to that first part of the show. Tricia Brouk, our guest, subject matter expert, just some valuable golden nuggets that she shared in the first segment. And we're glad you're here for the second segment. So Tricia, I know you want to share some stats for some business leaders that are listening right now. And I think that will shape the context of where things are and where things could be improved upon.
What's really interesting is the difference between smart leadership and wise leadership. It's not this nebulous kind of ethereal concept. And what I mean by that is, according to a 2024 article by journalist Mark Judge, the number of people who quit or are fired each year at Amazon is higher than the total employment at the company. And this is double the turnover rate for similar employers, and it costs Amazon an estimated $8 billion every single year.
Wow.
And according to a report by the National Employment Law Project, Amazon workers around the country have reported being subject to unsustainably fast productivity requirements, resulting in injury and exhaustion. That is not wise leadership. And yes, we all want our packages the next day. Yeah. And so this business model has been created in service of a customer's desire. However, if we're looking at the numbers and we're talking about how it costs Amazon an estimated $8 billion every year, maybe we should reflect on what wise leadership could do.
Absolutely. And I mean, people don't think of the long term, like you said. That's long term, and there's going to be a retention issue there as well.
Absolutely. So here's wise leadership. And this is an example of embodying gratitude. That's one of the pillars inside of the book. Indra Nooyi, who is the former CEO of PepsiCo, she was the first female CEO. And in 2006, she received this position and decided to go back to India and be with her parents before the first day of work. So she goes back to India. She is sitting in her parents' home and they invite people over, and all of the guests walk right past Indra to her parents and say, "Thank you so much for creating such an incredible woman. She's a CEO." And this had such an effect on Indra that she decided to write over 400 letters to the parents of the executives who reported to her from 2006 to 2018, thanking them for the gift of their child to the company. This not only gave her a 75% approval rating at the company, but she took PepsiCo from $2.7 billion to $6.5 billion net profit from 2006 to 2018. That is the ROI from practicing wise leadership. And this was embodying gratitude. How simple is that?
Yeah. It's so fun. I mean, it's so ironic. Like, here you are, you just gave something that is fact. And yet so many people just can't see long term. They just see that they got to get the numbers now. Cause I know they're public companies with stakeholders and everything's got to be done now. But how valuable it is, what this wise leadership, what you just talked about, what it can do, not only to meet the numbers, maybe not immediately if you're making these changes for the first time, but long term, how that's going to tee up for better metrics and better retention and less burnout and that type of thing.
Yeah. Another pillar that I talk about in the book is called becoming aware of your awareness. And again, this might seem like, how do I become aware of my awareness? Well, the reality is, as human beings, we're the only species that is really conscious of our consciousness. And so animals are not aware of their awareness. We, however, can contemplate our awareness. And what this means is, it starts with getting still, of course, but it means becoming aware. What am I feeling right now? What am I experiencing right now? What am I going to do about it right now before you do anything? And I'll give you an example. I had a show running in New York City for many, many years at the Triad Theater for many, many months rather, called 50 Shades of Effed Up. It was a parody musical about E.L. James' book, 50 Shades of Grey. And I wrote this musical, directed and choreographed it because I wanted to make fun of something that I thought was ridiculous. And it did very well. It was very silly. And it moved from the Triad to off Broadway, where it had another several month run. And we were doing tech rehearsal for the final dress. And the stage manager decided he didn't want to use props. Essentially, because we had so many props, it would mean him having to put all the props back after the run, which meant he was being lazy. And I said, we're absolutely going to be doing the run through with props. And in this moment, he screamed at me. He used the F-bomb, and the entire cast froze, and I froze. And at the time, I did not know I was becoming aware of my awareness. I had to deconstruct this as I was writing the book so that I could teach it to the reader. But I stopped. I became aware of my awareness, which was first, rage. How dare you speak to me like that? Second, fear. Oh my goodness, I'm going to lose the trust of my cast. And then despair. What am I going to do? This is the dress rehearsal for the opening night of my show. So I got still, and I made everyone get still. I said, let's take 10 minutes. I go out into the lobby, and then I practice discernment, which is another one of the pillars. What do I do here? And then I called our producer, and I said, this just happened. What are the options? And this was a union show. He was a union stage manager. And my producer said, we have two options. You get over it and you go back in, or you fire him. However, you have to buy him out if you fire him, because this is a union contract and we don't have the money in our budget to buy him out. And I thought about it, and I sat with it, and I discerned, and I was aware of my awareness. And that included compassion. He must be having a very hard day if that's how he spoke to me. I can forgive him. And I am the leader of this team and of this cast. And I'm going to use my own money to buy him out, because I do not want them to treat me like this. And I do not want him to treat my cast like this. And I need to protect my cast, and I need to show them what leadership looks like. And that's what I did.
Wow. Wow. Powerful in what you talked about discernment and something that, and can you maybe go, I mean, that's a primary example, but can you share a little bit more about that? Just because, for the listeners that either are running a business with their team or they're a leader for a department, for an organization you work for, if they're faced with maybe a similar situation, maybe not like what you said, but very similar, where they got to make a decision like that. Maybe you could give some more insights that could help them.
Absolutely. When it comes to the pillar of discern and embracing your Buddha nature, it means understanding everything that's going on and simply get a bench. Make sure you have a bench of people that you can talk to and advisors that you can get feedback from. You want to assemble this bench of people that you trust, who know you, who know your business, and making sure that these advisors have your best interest at heart when you ask these questions and when you get their counsel. And so it's building a bench, it's creating a team of advisors. And then the third part of discern is triangulate. And very simply, if you are hiring for one position, instead of trying to save money, hire two people, give them both the assignment, and then go with the person who does it better. You will save money and time. You will save rehiring. You will save making a mistake on the wrong person. So it means building a bench, making sure that you have your counsel to reach out to, your advisors, and triangulate.
Wow. Let that sink in, everybody. That is some golden advice, and it can be applied to any situation. And there are situations always around us in business, and many of them beyond our control, which happened to Tricia. She couldn't control the behavior, the attitude of that gentleman. I mean, there could have been a host of different reasons what caused him to do that, but nonetheless, she had to do what was best to maintain that environment and to carry out what that mission was. So valuable insights. Thank you for sharing that. What could be some other pillars that you would like to share, Tricia, that could help around what we're talking about today with today's topic for leaders listening here today?
I think another pillar, impermanence, which people find confusing, is such a really important pillar to cultivate when it comes to business and leadership. And I'll tell you why. I've been practicing this Eastern philosophy and cultivating my Buddha nature for decades. And my personal practice of impermanence is to make sure everyone in my life knows how I care about them, because I can't promise I'm going to be here tomorrow. None of us can. And so that is my personal practice of impermanence, making sure if I go on a trip, I leave a card behind for my husband, Joe, making sure my team knows how I feel about them every single day, making sure anybody I come in contact with feels seen and valued and heard in the moment that I have with them. So that's my personal practice of impermanence. When it comes to business, as a wise leader, if you think that your perfect team is going to stay perfect for the next 20 years, you are wrong. People are going to get married. They're going to want to have babies. They're going to move. They're going to get bored. They're going to leave you because life happens. And if you're not practicing that impermanence of setting yourself up for success by having a plan of, if my best team member leaves, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to make sure I have systems and processes in place so that when I hire somebody to replace this person, it's an easy transition. Or if I put all of my eggs into one basket with one person and I think nobody can replace them, that is not practicing impermanence. So we as wise leaders and founders and CEOs and managers, we have to think about the reality of impermanence, and we have to set ourselves up for success so that if somebody leaves, if somebody transitions, if somebody gets bored, if somebody quits, If we need to let go of somebody, the business isn't affected, the culture isn't affected. And that's why this practice of impermanence is embracing your Buddha nature. People just don't think of it that way.
That is a valuable, valuable insight. And, when you said that, it's like, okay, you always got to plan ahead because there's always going to be things beyond your control. People and situations, again, people are going to leave, not because maybe they didn't like working. There could be, hey, I got to move closer to my family, or I'm changing careers, or my spouse got a job somewhere else. It could be a host of different reasons. But it puts you, what you just said, into the position to now respond to these changes, not react.
That's right.
And there's a big difference. Can you share some insights from the Buddha philosophy with responding versus reacting?
Well, we are human beings and we want to react first because it's fear driven. We want to protect ourselves. We want to fight back. It's just in human nature to want to respond in that way, to fight and to protect and to, fight, flight, and fawn. If we think about the wisdom of our Buddha nature and we can practice the art of getting still, then we can move into discernment, becoming aware of our awareness, and make a decision to respond in a way that is aligned with compassion and empathy and kindness. And that's also something that I want to touch on, is that wise leadership is not soft leadership. Wise leadership is the kind of leadership that will inspire people to want to work with you, to want to go above and beyond, to want to invest in your mission and your vision, to want to invest in the other team members. And that's ultimately what we want as leaders, is to have a culture and a community of people who believe in our mission in order to serve the greater good.
Well said, and so true. And that should be something that many organizations should be aspiring to, to cultivate, working towards. I know we're getting towards the end of this segment, and you shared so many powerful things, from discernment to impermanence, all these things that you shared. Can you sum up the things that you talked about to kind of, connect the dots even to the first segment for the listeners?
When you think about the concept of embracing Buddha nature, it means letting go of inherited leadership styles that are fear-based and scarcity-driven. It means thinking about simple ways that you can cultivate your wisdom. And it starts with getting still. It means becoming aware of your awareness. It means understanding the importance of discernment before you make a decision, before you react. It also means the truth of impermanence. We may not be here tomorrow. Your team may not be here tomorrow. Your product may not be here tomorrow. And if we get super comfortable with befriending that kind of reality of impermanence and understanding that we can alleviate our own suffering by practicing these philosophies and these pillars, we can truly become wise leaders.
Well said. Such great insights. And I hope everyone's getting a lot of value here. I know I am. And again, we encourage you to reach out to Tricia, which you're going to find out her contact information here in the next segment. So don't leave. We got more to come, and she's going to be sharing some more insights to some of the other pillars and how you can get your hands on her book, which we highly encourage you to do. Again, feel free to check out our show here, not only on the Lisbon platform, but also Spotify, Apple, and of course, our audio version now on YouTube, where you can listen to the show and follow us on Facebook at Sustainable Success 2017. We got to go to break, everybody. When we come right back, we got more to come about being smart is stupid, and we'll be right back.
What is balance? It's being true to your purpose and not being distracted by shiny objects, surrounding yourself with family and loved ones, nurturing your spirituality, maintaining healthy balance of emotional and physical wellness, and being present in the moment. Chris Salem creates awareness about unblocking mindset barriers for sales professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and all types of people to have sustainable success at the next level. The solution evolves out of the problem or challenge. The issue is that many people and businesses manage the effect but do not address the root cause. You now have an opportunity to live your life and operate your business in the solution rather than the effect of your challenges. Schedule a time to chat about your goals and the person you desire to be by going to ChristopherSalem.com. We have group consulting calls, one-on-one, and other programs to assist you. It will be the best thing you do for yourself to see how sustainable success is possible for you in your life and business. Join us at the next level. Visit ChristopherSalem.com. Voice America is on LinkedIn. Connect with us today. You are listening to Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. Send an email to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Now, back to Sustainable Success.
Welcome back to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us, we're talking about being smart is stupid with Tricia Brouk. Again, we highly encourage you to go back and listen to the first, second segments. Again, powerful insights into what we're talking about on Buddha principles and how they can be applied in leadership positions or any situations and any organization, whether if that is in business or community, government, does not matter. We highly encourage you. Today's show is being brought to you today again by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types. Now, it also features a new section now for athletes, for those professional athletes that are now transferring into everyday life. Maybe perhaps you retired, you're taking on a new job, a new career, buying a business. Well, guess what? You don't have to do it alone. Now through Alumni Direct, you can form groups with other former athletes that now you can share insights, advice, tips, things that you can do to help each other make this transition more seamless. In addition, there is a podcast dedicated to this area, from athletes to entrepreneurs, that is hosted by the CEO and founder of Alumni Direct, Rob Finkelstein. So we highly encourage everyone, check that out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. So Tricia, just again, just enlightening conversation here coming from you, all the valuable insights that you've shared. Let's talk about the concept of letting go. Letting go is not something that comes natural, because you said, for people, a lot of people tend to kind of cling to something because of fear. Letting go is fearful, but why letting go can be so important when we're talking about what you're sharing it with when it comes from a business context.
Letting go is such a challenging concept. And if your listeners have ever seen Swingers, Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn, there's a scene in the movie that is so iconic where Mikey had just met Nikki and they were at the Dresden. She's drinking a martini and he had just broken up with his girlfriend. And she's sitting at the bar and she gives him her phone number, and he goes home and he calls Nikki and he leaves this message. Hi, Nikki, it's Mikey. And I just wanted to let you know, beep. And the answering machine cuts him off. And he's pacing around the room and he picks up the phone again and he leaves another message. Hi, Nikki, it's Mikey. We met at the Dresden. I'm not sure if you got my phone number. It's 86, but beep. And it cuts him off. And he picks up the phone and he calls her again. And he says, I think the phone just cut me. Beep. And he calls her back again. And he finally calls her back again and says, hi, Nikki, it's Mikey. I don't think this is going to work out. And she picks up. She's listening.
Oh, my God.
She's screening. She picks up and she says, never call me again. And he hangs up the phone. This story is about him being unable to let go of the story that his first message didn't go through. And
Wow.
he created all of this suffering for himself because he did not let go of the story he made up. As leaders, how many times are we making up a story about an employee or about a colleague or about a consultant or about a vendor that we have no idea what is going on there? And ultimately, we are creating a huge amount of problems for ourselves and for them because we're making up a story and we're unable to let go of that story because of our own limiting beliefs. That's why letting go, if you think of it in terms of what's the story here? Is it a story? Is it a lie? Or is it actually the truth? Do I have evidence to prove the truth? And as a wise leader, we will practice, even when it's hard, letting go of the story we are imposing on the other person or the other scenario. And that's why letting go is so important, is one of these pillars.
Wow. And that, what a great way to illustrate with that movie scene, because that really, really resonated there. And it's so true, because a lot of times, a lot of people, especially in business, have a hard time letting go. And a lot of times it's all this stuff that they made up in their own head. A lot of times, a lot of it's not even reality, but it is to their perception, it is reality.
And that reality creates so much suffering. And when we don't have to do anything in the world to create suffering, there's plenty of it going on without us having to add to it. And if you work the skill set of embracing the Buddha nature of letting go, we can help alleviate that suffering. And that's ultimately what we want as wise leaders, is to be able to be effective, to be efficient, to make an impact, to create this culture and to embrace our vision in order to leave this lasting legacy. And if we're busy creating stories and unable to let go of those stories, we're just going to drown in our own suffering.
Yeah. It's like when you said that, it's again, like, I feel like if I'm always attaching my emotions to the outcome, and usually when I attach myself to outcomes, that's going to means I'm putting all my energy into the control I can't control. And that's going to involve other people and situations again. But if I can now focus on what I can control, me, and then I know I can control my attitude, my emotions, my actions, my behavior, my communication in an assertive versus a passive aggressive way, I'm more likely to I can see things now for what it is, not what I think it should be.
Right.
Big difference. Yeah.
That's right. And if you use this very simple exercise, what happens if, when you're faced with these stories and you're not able to let go? So for Mikey, an example, what happens if the machine cut off my phone number? Well, I can call her back tomorrow. What happens if she doesn't answer the phone tomorrow? I can leave another message. What happens if she doesn't get the message because the answering machine blows up? I can call until she picks up. And you take yourself through this story, what happens if, and you realize that you're absolutely able to get to the solution that you want without creating all of this chaos.
Yeah. God, what a valuable lesson. Anybody listening right now, leaders, how important is that? Because a lot of times we get caught up in this nuance, this stuff that we think is really more than it really is. And there are solutions. I've always advocated, Tricia, that for any challenge or any obstacle, there's always an opportunity. And without a challenge, you can't create an opportunity. And without an opportunity, you can't generate a new result. So what you just shared about letting go, what a powerful pillar here, and how to deal with situations outside of your control.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, let's transition. Let's start to put everything together, since we only have so much time with this show, about the concept of oneness.
Oneness is such a profound concept, and it can seem truly overwhelming. However, it's very simple. When you recognize the practice of oneness, you understand that we're all connected. And the example that I will give you is, let's say you are in your car and there's tons of traffic and you're going to be late. And there's nothing you can do about it. The traffic is the traffic. But you are working yourself up, and you're working yourself up into a place of anger and frustration, and your blood pressure is increasing. And you finally get to your location and you're really, really not in a good place, and your energy and your vibration is very, very low. And you walk into the room and you yell at all of your employees and you take it out on them, and that vibration and that energy goes to them, and then they feel bad and they have this energy and vibration. And then guess what? They go home and they have that same feeling and they have that same energy, and they communicate to their kids, and the kid doesn't know why, because they didn't do anything wrong, but the kid feels bad too. This is the importance of recognizing oneness. Every second of your existence in contact with another person has a ripple effect that goes way beyond what you can see. When we acknowledge oneness and we know that how we are showing up affects the person in front of us, and the person behind that person, and the person behind that person, and the person behind that person, we can become more conscious of our Buddha nature as leaders, because we know that we have one opportunity in this impermanent moment to leave a legacy of goodness in our wake. And if we forget as a leader that oneness is important, I go back to the fact that the turnover rate for Amazon costs them $8 billion a year. That's not oneness.
That is so true. And why, again, we bring on subject matter guests like you to come on to keep dripping this type of awareness. And then hopefully some leaders are going to finally get it, especially when they're in positions to advocate this change at the highest level.
That's my hope. That's my hope. And the cheeky being smart is stupid is an invitation to leaders to open this book and to use and practice the 9 pillars, which are very easy tactical practices in order to embrace your Buddha nature. And yes, we all have it.
Well, and when you said that just now, there are a lot of leaders out there that have a lot of experience, have a lot of knowledge, maybe even have a high IQ. And that's great. But that doesn't mean their Buddha principles, or you could say emotional intelligence, is at that same level. And if there's not alignment there, guess what? That's where, again, they're going to be missing out on certain things that could be whole lot better.
That's right. And the invitation to those very smart leaders is that amazing. It's gotten you this far. What would happen if you decided to explore the wisdom of your Buddha nature and to explore what it meant to take your leadership to the next level and to potentially let go of the leadership styles that you've inherited and that you are passing down? That's something that I want to encourage leaders to also consider, is what's the leadership style you're passing down? And is it wise or is it smart?
That's so powerful. And what I love, like you're sharing, is like we're influencing, the up and coming leader, the new leaders, and we hope that they're going to be the ones that can advocate this change. Tricia, we're getting near the end of the show here, and I want to make sure that everybody listening and those that will be listening on demand here later reach out and get to know you. First off, before we do that, I want to thank you personally for taking time out of today's schedule to be with us here. I'm actually doing the show from an airport, which is, but we made it happen. And this was one of the better shows that I've done in, I can't say how long. You nailed it with such great insights. And I want to thank you personally, me personally, and the team. here at Sustainable Success. How can the listeners get to know you? What are you up to, and anything that you'd like to share with them?
Well, thank you so much, Christopher. It's such a pleasure to be with you. And I'm so inspired by you crushing it from an airport today with me. That's amazing.
Got to adapt, right? We have to adapt
always.
to what is.
Absolutely. You were detached from any outcome and it served you.
Yes.
The book is, you can head over to beingsmartiststupid.com and you can grab a copy of your book from all the places that we sell it. You can follow me at triciabrouk.com. And I'm on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn. And I am going to be teaching a complimentary training in November to anyone who reviews the book. So I highly recommend that once you get your copy, it is going to be available on October 28th. You can pre-order it now. So definitely purchase that book now when you're listening to this. But if you do take a moment and review the book, you're going to get access to this free training that I'm doing in November. And I would love to see you there. And for all the leaders listening, I hope that you can really understand that you've got a Buddha nature. And when you start to embrace it, you will move into wise leadership.
Wow. Thank you so much. And as we get close down the show, just any final statement you would like to leave the listeners here in 20 seconds.
Start with getting still. It's very, very simple. Stop, tune in, intuit, listen, and learn.
Beautifully said. We highly encourage everybody to reach out to Tricia, get to know her. Make sure to sign up for her November virtual session. Get your hands on the book first, read that, join her in November. We'll make sure to have all that information here in the show notes here on the Lisbon platform, also on Spotify, Apple, and then YouTube as well. So Tricia, thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Christopher.
Thank you. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Sustainable Success. Again, we are committed to bringing in subject matter experts like Tricia in to share their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate you and your business to the next level. Again, if you'd like to see future content that we have not shared here on the show, feel free to reach out to our team here at chris@sustainablesuccess.net. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your day and week, and we'll see you here next Thursday at the same time. Take care.
Thank you for tuning into Sustainable Success. Be sure to join Chris Salem and his guests every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Time and 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel. Have an incredible week.